that one, everything.
Trustee has to sign.
You know how sad it is? I'm doing when you're ready. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. We have a series of 5 questions that I'm going to ask you with. We have a total of 25 minutes for the interview, and each question will have 3 minutes to answer, and Anthony has some timing advisories for you. So, unless you have any questions, I'll get started. Number 1, the governance team is comprised of 5 individual board members and the superintendent, who reports directly to the board as a whole. In your view, what are the appropriate roles, duties, and authorities of the members of the governance team, individually and collectively?
I'm a big believer in collaboration, and so in that context, the school board members are each public representatives to our district, and as an entity, the group is tasked with responsibility, fairness, transparency, to offer directions to the superintendent, and the goal is to ensure educational excellence, fiscal responsibility, and in my case as a physician and also a mom of 3 children, it is vital wellness that's very key to ensure the foundation of success.
Thank you. Number 2, how should an effective school board interact with parents and community members on important and controversial policy issues?
In the context of a thriving community, it is important to welcome all views, be it the party line view, if you will, or the views of the majority versus the views of the even one person. If that one person has a view that is very critical to the success and the vital link of our school board, the answer is that we are here as a team, as a collaborative entity, as a parent community, and as as part of the whole. So the answer is that when there are controversies, welcome it. It is important to hear all voices, all views, so that we can actually move forward. If we are in a homogeneous type of a situation where all we hear is yes, 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 everything's fine and dandy, when in fact there might be other solutions and alternatives, the answer is it is best to welcome all views and all stakeholders, regardless of whether they're the majority or the not so majority. The key is what's the issue, what is the way to approach it. So it's collaboration, open-mindedness, and engagement, and having a agree to respectfully disagree approach.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What would you like to accomplish as a board member? What is your highest priority and why? What are you proud of in this district?
I love this question. Having gone through 4 rounds, 4 endeavors to serve, including this round, to serve on the school board, the top priority for me is always educational excellence. The second is fiscal responsibility, and the third, once again, is to empower our children to be very constructive, creative, and critical thinkers and compassionate thinkers, so that all of us can move in the direction we need to move towards. What am I most proud of? The 12 years that I've been with this wonderful town. My family and I really love this community. We have 3 beautiful children. 2 of them have already gone through the system. Whenever I, as a senior physician, sit on the board to interview candidates for employment, when they say they're from Concord, you can imagine the pride that I have in that candidate because of that connection that I have with them. I'm most proud of our school, the Jewel in the Crown. I'm most proud of all the dedication that all of us have put forward to ensure the success and the academic excellence and the embracement of all people.
Number 4, identify a recent board decision that you felt strongly about and describe how you would balance community concerns, student needs, law, staff considerations, and your personal values to determine how to vote on the issue.
Now, this is a very, in a way for me, a core value question, and aligning that with my guiding principle, which is to always ensure that our funding goes directly to the front line, to support our students, to support our teachers, to ensure that we have the best resources as we go through constant changes in the last 5 years. I would identify the halting of the assistant superintendent hiring at this point in time as a very prudent decision, and it is an example of how the governing board will influence with the reasons that are not quite clear to the rest of the community, that decision was at this point in time halted. So I believe that really gives a message of hearing, listening, and validating the concerns of the community.
So, ready? Thank you. Question 5, this is a little longer and it has a multi-part in it, so if you need me to repeat anything, let me know. The premise. The school district is committed to making a balanced reinvestment in multiple areas, including enhancing world language, increasing professional development, investing in technology, maintaining competitive compensation for our staff, and considering requests to help fund a turf field. Knowing that board members in the community have diverse priorities, A, what is your primary goal in the decision-making process? B, how will you approach the board decision knowing that board member and stakeholder opinions will differ on each issue? C, how will you analyze and formulate your position if your child would be personally affected by the outcome? And D, how will you respond if you do not persuade a majority of the board to support your position? Or if you are in the majority, the vote is not unanimous.
It is certainly a loaded question, and I'll do my very best so that we can at least be able to dissect, assess, and come up with a plan. So to the first question about how to balance between the varying issues. For me, these are components of the HCSD forward. So I'm a big believer in investing in the rural language and the rural culture. And in order for our students to be really genuinely prepared globally, rural language, rural culture is going to be a key investment. To the second point, regarding professional development, you know, we as human beings, from the time we're born to the time that we pass on, there are decades of excellence in the way that the brain develops, whether it's the first year of life versus what is midlife versus the end of life. Especially between the ages of 18 to about 65 or so, there are many stages that would require professional development. So I'm a big proponent to ensure that we make that investment, especially for our teachers and also for the parent community, so that collectively we're on the same plane to be able to ensure that the students are all going to be moving forward. To the point about technology, as we are now in a high-tech world, in my world, even with medicine, we call it the high-tech and the high-touch. And it's combining the art of medicine, the science, and to be able to use technology as a tool to guide us. And as we're going through the launch of the core, Common Core, it is very important to have technology as a tool one tool in our toolbox so that we can empower all of us, not just the kids, because by far, I don't know about your kids, but mine are just stellar super users of technology. As far as the issue with regards to the turf field, as I had expressed during the last public comment, I'm open-minded, and this is to your point about controversy. How do we unite the community? Once again, the tougher the decision, the longer the process for us to listen carefully, embrace all views, ensure that every single voice is heard, and really critically analyze the safety, the reason why we have that, and then to come up with a decision, however long it takes, so that the unifying forces would come together, and that's my approach.
Trustees? Questions? Start. Go ahead,
In one of the questions, you talked about the assistant superintendent decision that the board made recently. And I think you used a phrase about you prefer to direct the funds to the frontline classroom, would be your personal philosophy about how to allocate resources in the district. I'm wondering if you can comment then on, so we have 4 schools in Hillsborough. They all have a principal. Crocker has an assistant principal. Would you have the same opinion that should we eliminate the assistant principal position at Crocker and redirect those salary funds to the frontline classroom? And if not, what's the difference between that and your thoughts on the assistant superintendent?
Excellent question. So when it comes to the position of the assistant principal, we're getting closer and closer and closer to the front line. So having been in the school system for the last 12 plus years, I would say that I would not eliminate the position of the assistant principal. And the reason for that is because, as we all know, Proctor is the unifying school for all of our 4 directional schools, if you will. So that means there's more volume of students, and it would not be a functioning day-to-day to have the principal be responsible for the various functions that the principal is already being tasked with, in addition to having to work with any kind of issues with the children. So to your point, I would consider the assistant principal of Proctor to be a very valuable frontline type of position. And in that context, I would not eliminate that position. I hope that answers your question.
Martin?
So, Dr. Wu, you've had a somewhat contentious relationship with this board, somewhat adversarial relationship over the past year, particularly at last night's board meeting. And it appears that there's clearly a lack of trust from your perspective to us. And what I'm wondering is, if you were to become appointed to this board, how would you become a productive, effective contributor to the work that we do?
That's a very key question in terms of bridging any kind of gaps. As was said yesterday, perception is not always reality. So in that context, as I had mentioned earlier, words such as contentious, words as adversarial is not my intent. My intention is to be able to bring out what is truthful, what is genuine. I would prefer that if I'm working with a team of my positions, that if there are issues, I would want to hear what the issues are, as long as it is in the context of respectful, encompassing, and embracing, and that it is a free country. We have the freedom of speech, and what makes this country great is the diversity. And for people to be
response to one of the questions, and Dawn mentioned this too, you talked about your guiding principle is to put funding towards the front lines of education. And I wanted to then refer to your application, which in review looks substantially similar to the one that you submitted several years ago, including the answer to the question, what is the single most critical issue facing the district? And your answer is with financial challenges and ongoing budget cuts from Sacramento. Can you explain where that information comes from? If you still believe that's true, or if you're aware of any updates and changes since this application was filled out several years ago?
I took a lot of time reflecting on the application. The timeline is just basically 2 years ago, 2011, May 5th, as a matter of fact, in terms of the application. So, to me, the context has to be there. As we all know, we went through a very, very, very painful cuts from 2008, 2009, even at the 2011 appointment process. There are still talks, lingering talks about the cuts, about the budget issues. And even now, I'm concerned about the budget. I would not say that we're in a quote solvent state, or that we can move forward without worries of whether or not there are going to be potential shortfalls. So it's in that context that within 2 years, there's really still the concern of fiscal responsibility. And as a taxpayer, as a member of the community, I'm a big proponent of making sure that when we look at the microcosms of issues and challenges, that we don't lose sight of what we just have weathered, and then to also allow for 3 to 5 years prior to forecasting whether or not we're out of the woods.
Dr. Wu, you've said this is your 4th go-round. 2 times was a full-out campaign for election. And I would say your views are pretty well known. You're outspoken, you say what you think in public forums and in your campaign. And you have called this the people's seat. And my question to you is, the people knowing your views and what you stand for have not seen fit to elect you to this seat. So explain to me your reasoning why the board should then appoint you to this seat.
And that's a very interesting perspective. I actually am very proud of the campaign that I had entered in 2009 as a writing candidate. I earned 100 of our voters of our town, and in this last go-around as an independent candidate, pounding the pavements, pounding the pavements, and having lots of interactions with our constituents. What I heard were lots of positives, that we would love to have diversity on the board. And then you are the spokesperson for a lot of the parents and groups and representative of the demographics of our student body. And some of the questions that were actually raised to me, which is pertinent to your question, Greg, is how is it that we as a community have such a lack of representation of our student body on the school board? So what I heard one-on-one, factual, is that we love for you to run. You are a quality candidate, and you are of substance, and we really want to see you keep fighting for the people's seats. So those are the points that I heard.
Thank you.
Do you have any short remarks, questions for us?
Yes. want to say thank you very much to each and every one of you for the time that you have spent. We know it's a very, very tireless and sometimes thankless position. And I welcome the fact that we have open dialogues and that we are very cordial and be able to respectfully disagree. And that going forward, it is important to ensure that all voices are heard, all people are represented, and that the school board reflects the rich diversity of the student body so that there are role models, especially at graduation, when 30+% are sitting in the audience, both the students and the parents, looking at the school board and wondering where is the representation, where taxpayers in this town are working very hard and would like to be able to have that diversity. So thank you so much for this opportunity to appear before you, and I really appreciate your dedication and commitment, and I hope to be able to join you in that teamwork. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I stay? Do I go?
Your excuse?
Go?
Should I bring the next piece here?
Yeah.
Two more.
Two more.
Thank you so much.
Do you want me to, or do you want to?
As I said to Anthony, I was happy to balance. Thank you so much. You should see me post call.
Yeah, water in the kitchen.
So this is.
That is, I think that is a compiling, it's just, it's software that my husband found.
Cause it's in here.
Yeah. I tried to.
I know, it's not funny. Yeah, that was like one of those tutorials. You realize anything changes, it's great.
I took a listen. Right, I mean, it's like, this is great.
Yeah, but it's, hanging out, not wanting to come in early.
Just walk
This is
around.
what it makes like